Will, welcome to the show.
Hey Alex, thanks for having me. Pumped to be here and excited to talk a bit about e-commerce and Amazon strategy.
Absolutely. We're very happy to have you. Why don't you first off tell us a little bit about your company, Bellavix?
Yeah, definitely. So Bellavix is an Amazon marketing agency or marketplace management company, and we're hyper focused on helping brands scale on marketplaces like Amazon, Walmart, and Target. And why it came out Amazon company because about 80% of our clients are on Amazon. Amazon
Mhm.
is the 800-pound gorilla in the room. It's 50% of e-commerce, so obviously we represent a lot of brands on Amazon, but Walmart is no joke, and neither is Target. So we do help these brands manage marketplaces, and we stay in our lane. So we implement a lot of marketing strategies and good operational principles that help our brands penetrate these markets and start to get some market share for whatever categories they're
Mhm.
participating in.
And those three things are a lot of what we'll talk about: Amazon, Target, and Walmart. Kind of the differences
Sure.
between them, the strategies of marketing products on there.
Hmm.
I think they actually do provide very different needs to people, despite
Yeah.
all being the same on the paper.
Hmm.
I think there's a lot of value in the differences there. But
Yeah.
before we get into that, I'd love to talk about growth and scaling, as you mentioned a little bit,
Sure.
because I think often that they might get confused with being synonymous. I know for me, they get confused with being synonymous. I'll keep it on me at least. Can you actually help illuminate the difference between growth and scaling?
Yeah, so for me personally, and I think this could be subjective to because I've heard it in different, and to your point, like I think a lot of people use them kind of synonymous. When
Uh-huh.
we look at scale, scale is something that can go up and down. So scale might be an investment that leads to a short-term growth, and we're scaling down something because we're liquidating, so on and so forth. Whereas growth, we look at long term. So like you generally
Mhm.
don't shrink, you keep growing. So if we're growing something, we're trying to raise that bottom line, increase that baseline. If we're scaling something, we're just trying to get like rapid sales or rapid growth, or we're scaling back, and that's how we kind of delineate between the two. Have you heard anything counter to how we look at it here at Bellavix?
I mean, not really. Growth, to my knowledge, was just like improving your overall size and scope of the company, and
Mhm.
scaling was kind of like more organizational and
Mm,
availability of resources. So,
yeah,
like, growth is literally just sales going up and your size going up, and scaling was kind of more like tightening and maintaining of company workflow and organization a little
yeah,
bit. That's to my knowledge is kind of
yeah,
because when you're a startup, you're just kind of throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks.
yeah.
And again, to my knowledge, scaling was kind of actually like, let's have an HR person, let's do all this. Like this is
Yeah.
how businesses actually run, and that's what totally lines up with what you're saying at the
Yeah,
same
and then
time.
no, to be honest with you, Alex, this is a great point. I'm looking obviously from the lens of an e-commerce brand and how
Sure.
we look at how we market and scale those. Obviously, if I take a step back and we look at it holistically from like Bellavix as an agency, yeah,
Mhm.
that definitely aligns and process. So for any a lot of your startups, like we adhere to like EOS principles, the entrepreneur operating system,
Okay.
and we put a lot of those principles in place. So what you're saying, scaling and growth, that resonates, and it sounds like something Gino Wickman would say in one of his EOS trainings.
Are those both things that Bellavix works on with companies and brands, or do you favor one over the other?
Yeah, so I guess two different entities. So like where I'm at as a business owner, I actually focus a lot on like scale and growth. So like
Cool.
outside of the services we deliver, I'm looking at it through the EOS lens, and I'm looking at how are we have department heads, so how are we making sure that they have the tools, the resources, and the knowledge to be able to accomplish things. How do we set, we do rock, so how do we set quarterly goals to hit our annual goals, and we do like a lot of planning and exercises around that, including like
Hmm.
defining your customer. But that's for me more as like a business owner who's looking
Hmm.
to scale their agency to the next level. Obviously when we think about through the lens of like e-commerce and marketplaces, we're more looking like tactical because we're more tacticians to the brands we represent. So it
Hmm.
might be like what activities lead to, these outcomes. And obviously, having been in the game for a while, we kind of know the activities the brands need to do in order to get exposure to customers. So I guess it's a different way of looking at it. So like when we're hired as Bella Vix, we're super focused on what we need to do, and we're not as holistically involved because they have their own teams to talk about their D2C strategy and their retail strategy. Whereas Bella Vix, we get to make all those decisions. So that's why we focus on that. And we don't, we take some of those principles, like we have rocks
Sure.
that our teams implement with our clients, because it's great to have quarterly goals and we tie them to really great outcomes. But for most of it, it's more tactical.
Yeah. I wanted to talk about you mentioned your experience and how experienced your team is. Doing a little research, it looked like you worked for the Navy for a little bit. Is that accurate? Okay.
That is very accurate. Yeah.
And then it felt like to me, out of the blue, you were just in the e-commerce space, like in marketing. How did that kind of switch happen? I asked this question to a lot of people because I think it's fascinating how wide and variable a career change like that can really be, honestly. I mean, it literally looked like you were a tech for the Navy and then you were working on SEO, and it felt like a total day and night thing. I'd love to hear that story.
Yeah, thank you. That's where did you do your research, Alex? That's awesome, man. Yeah, so I was actually in the Navy. I enlisted when I was 18, right out of high school, and obviously I didn't know what I wanted to do, but my father was an elevator mechanic, and he was actually an entrepreneur, so he ran his own business. So I did my time in the service, and I got out with electrician's license. So a lot of people don't know that, but I can actually do electricity. And I worked in the power industry as a result. And my time in the power industry was great. I learned a lot about processes, and military teaches a discipline, but it wasn't 100% for me. And I was lucky that I was able to leverage the GI Bill. So I was able to work in the power industry and work my way up from a tech to management and operations. While at the same time, I went to school, went to college, got my bachelor's degree. And if that wasn't enough, I was also kind of moonlighting. So me and my girlfriend at the time, we used to do a lot of retail arbitrage. So we would buy items on clearance, or we would coupon, and we would just have a ton of stuff. And we started flipping them on marketplaces and on Amazon. And then brands started needing that service. And in 2013, I graduated school, and I didn't want to do the power stuff anymore. It just wasn't my passion. Not that there was anything wrong with it. So I quit a nice six-figure job in the power industry, where I was kind of gearing up for upper management. And I chose to go work at a startup for, $10 an hour, learning SEO. And it was the best move I ever did. From there, I majored in entrepreneurship. So I just started working at agencies, got even deeper into e-com, but I already had a lot of interest in e-commerce because it's just fun. It's tech. It's always changing. And then I bounced around, and in 2018, I started Bella Vix, and we decided, we learned a lot, particularly my background in advertising. My co-founder is also my wife, and she was digital marketing, and she worked more on the brand side and operations. And so together we started Bella Vix in 2018, the two of us doing all the work. And now it's 2023. We're at 24 full-time employees. We manage 30 plus accounts. I think we do a little over $250,000 a month in advertising spend. So we're really proud of the work. And it's been a hell of a journey. And I'm sorry, Alex, I feel like I'm rambling, but that's how, that was the transition from, I was a blue collar guy to now I run an agency. But everything, every skill I picked up has helped me kind of level up, and still a lot to learn and a lot to grow, but it's been a cool journey.
I don't want to again get too in the weeds on this, but I think that I worked on an agricultural documentary show, and so cool. that was one of those things where it's a lot of those guys articulated that those blue collar jobs are essentially dying. No one wants to get out of school or no one wants to finish high school and go do something like that, despite it
Mhm.
actually probably paying a lot better than most other things. They just fundamentally don't want to do it. They want to do
Yeah.
e-commerce. They want to do entrepreneurship. They want to be a
Yeah.
YouTuber, anything in kind of the tech digital space.
Yeah.
Um, was that kind of part of your experience, or do you think that it actually provided a lot of value for you in the tech and e-commerce space? Because I don't know, to my knowledge, it feels like I worked in the service industry for 10 years, and that gave me a lot of perspective later down the road in a career, going from waiting tables to, you know,
Yeah.
busboy, running food, flipping burgers, bartending, all that stuff. Worked in every part of a restaurant, and that gave me a lot of like appreciation and different skills that I think other people
Yeah.
don't have, like how to
Yeah.
talk to people, honestly. So I'm
Yeah.
curious if being an electrician helped
Yeah.
you in that same similar aspect.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So like standard operating procedures, I thought was just a Navy thing. But like we have
Yeah,
hundreds of SOPs, and
yeah,
it's common across the practices. And I think a lot of it was just discipline. I think I picked up early on. So like the ability to just stay focused, the ability to go to school and work two jobs and follow your passions. I think like a lot of that, yeah, you pick up like the functions of electricity, not really, but like management. I got to hire people, so I had experience with that before. I ran my own business. We built standard operating procedures.
hmm
We a lot of team building. And I'd say like some things that were different that I wasn't prepared of is like mannerisms, I guess. Like the blue collar work environment is just different. And
Oh
I
yeah.
worked in an all boys club. So like first getting into the marketing scene and that transition, like I had to be conscious of the language I was using. I had to be conscious of the audience and how I presented myself. And if you look at like early recordings of like podcasts I may have done or webinars, I feel like I'm a lot less polished. So while it did help me in a lot of avenues making this transition, and there was also a lot to learn that I didn't have exposure to that I was able to get as I jumped
hmm
around in the digital marketing world.
hmm I also think there's some value in like authenticity,
Mm-hmm.
and bringing that to the table without maybe being so raw at the same time. Like
Yeah.
there's a polished version of Will
Yeah. Yeah.
that is still Will, you know what I'm saying? That
Yeah.
isn't so
Exactly.
overly corporatized.
Yeah.
Now I wanted to kind of talk about Amazon and Walmart, right?
Sure.
So those are kind of the two big. I mean, Target as well. I don't want
Yeah.
to talk down to Target,
Yeah.
but Amazon and Walmart are kind of like they're almost um, you know synecdoches of a larger idea, you
Yeah.
know. So what would you consider to be the primary differences that brands should be aware of between selling on Amazon and Walmart and Target, if you feel so inclined to throw them in there?
Beautiful. Beautiful. I'll stick to Amazon and Walmart. Makes this conversation a lot easier. In the Target
Sure.
world, we only do advertising, and the only way you're in Target is if you know
Great.
the retailer and you've gotten in. So a lot of brands don't have that. So, but Amazon and Walmart are open marketplaces. So the biggest thing is, first of all, will be the shopper experience. So Amazon specifically, buy online if they can. They want to show it up at your doorstep in a day, if not less. And their logistics is insane. There's about
hmm
500 Amazon fulfillment centers within 100 miles of every major city, which just gives them the ability to do day shipping. 50% of e-commerce happens on Amazon. It's a big marketplace, and there's lots of brands on it and lots of opportunity to test your minimal viable product before you jump into something deeper. And it's a great way to kind of get exposure to a larger audience. Walmart is a little different. So the shopping experience at Walmart, and to give some context, so there is a Walmart, I believe, within 10 miles of every major city. I think there's close to 4,500 Walmarts, if my memory serves me correctly. So there are just a lot more Walmarts, and they are getting into the e-commerce space, but they're not fully committed to the e-commerce space.
hmm
The ideal shopping experience for a Walmart online shopper is to buy online, pick up in store. And so the system doesn't favor as much third-party sellers. What they want, they want to promote their first party sellers. So those are the vendors who get purchase orders, who have products physically in store. It doesn't
hmm
mean that there's not an opportunity on Walmart, just means it's smaller and the system is geared more towards those people who are in retail. And to give some context, roughly whatever you're doing on Amazon, you can expect to do between 15 and maybe 40% of that on Walmart. So it's a smaller opportunity. So normally when we work with brands, we'll get them on Amazon, we'll generate sales, and then we usually add Walmart on as an add-on because it's still a first mover opportunity. And I do believe that eventually like how our kids shop will be a lot more digital. So with that being said, Walmart does have the infrastructure. So what I tell a lot of brands when they're considering Walmart, consider Walmart as like, if you could have gotten to Amazon about 15 years ago, would you have made that investment? And I think a lot of brands would. And that's why, they're seeing significant growth and they are picking up more market share. But that's the two fundamental differences between the two platforms. And obviously we recommend having a presence on both because your shoppers will shop wherever they normally pick up their stuff online.
And I think they provide, I just want to reiterate what you were saying, and that is they provide different services in general as brands too. Like, I don't know about you, but when I was in high school, we would just go to Walmart just to kind of like hang out and buy random stuff. It was like a really casual thing. Now, I think that Amazon has replaced that space a little bit where you can sit on the comfort of your couch and casually scroll through, buy something, and that immediacy kind of can play into it too, that 2-day shipping that you mentioned. So I have more availability to get something specifically that I'm looking for, but it can also be casual. I think personally Walmart is also like, I need this thing now that I know that I will get, that is the Walmart space for me. Is if I need a chair, if I need groceries, like I know that I'll be able to find it there. That is that space. And just to throw Target in there, because I know a lot of people who shop at Target. I know my girlfriend's side of the family did a lot of their Christmas shopping at Target because that is a great place for, in my opinion, millennials and Gen Xers to kind of just go and peruse. And that's like where they hang out a little bit, to just kind of see if there's some cool stuff. It's kind of almost like the boutique store among the Fortune 500 companies, if that makes any sense. So I think that you are totally right in saying that there has to be different strategies that apply to those three things. We'll start with like maybe visibility. What are some of the basic strategies that brands can commit to that will help with their visibility on Amazon and Walmart?
Beautiful. So like two primary ways. And what I'd say, like if you're getting on the platform, like basic SEO is a must. You want to make sure you have keyword alignment, and there are tools. You can use Helium 10. There's back-end tools like brand analytics on Amazon. You can like get a lot of these keywords. You want to make sure you have them in the titles, the bullets, the description, and then on the back end, they have a place for you to enter search terms and make sure you follow the formats. Otherwise, it won't count. And then so SEO is a big thing, and then advertising. Like those are the two primary methods to get eyeballs to a listing. We like to use like retail readiness. So you don't want to advertise a listing that like has less than 3.5 stars or is like egregiously priced compared to competitors. You know what I mean? So like there's good fits. And then you just want to make sure you're serving those ads smartly. So when somebody's in market or when somebody, contextually is consuming something around your product, so you could serve them ads on and off the platform, all using all Amazon data. So some things you could do, pay-per-click is like your bottom of the funnel. Somebody searches in your category, they're in aisle, or they're searching for your brand. And then we can do something called programmatic advertising. And that's our ability to use Amazon's data to target customers on and off the platform. And that's where that contextual, somebody who's consuming around jogging, and maybe they're getting ready to buy jogging sneakers. So your ads might show up, once they're cookied. I know cookies aren't it, but they still track it. Then they're served these ads that are relevant to them. And also because it's Amazon, people who viewed a listing but didn't make a purchase, viewed your listing but didn't make a purchase. So there's lots of strategies that you can do And to give some context into the data, Amazon's data is actual shopping data from, I think it's like 300 million
Mhm.
US Prime subscribers. So like it's a pretty good data size.
Yeah.
Whereas Google or search in general, it's based on browser behavior. So based on how you engage your browser is how they serve their ads. And then social is based on social engagement. So it's based on how social media consumers engage content. So you could see like top of the funnel, social, contextual, a little more in market, Google, bottom of the funnel, Amazon. So when you're looking at investing into advertising programmatically and you're starting to get mid and upper funnel strategies in place, and you're in the e-commerce space or services related, like installing smart devices,
Mhm.
that's where your opportunity is to get those customers that are about to make the purchase. And that's the value of Amazon's data and why, Jeff Bezos is able to retire and send people to Mars and everything else that they're doing.
Oh, sure. I mean, they're a tech company more than they are anything else at the
Yeah,
end of the day.
yeah,
You know, I
absolutely.
think people often forget, despite how many movies they make and things that they sell and things that they do in general, they're a tech company, just like a
Yeah,
Facebook or an Apple at the end of the day.
yeah.
And so you mentioned retail readiness, I think was the term that you used for the products that you like to work with. Um, does that mean that you don't help with or do help with introducing products to a marketplace? You know, if
Right.
let's say I'm a brand, I got a new product, I come to you guys and I'm like, I need to get this into Walmart.
Yeah.
And I use that as an example because I do watch a little Shark Tank, and getting a
Nice.
product on Amazon is a lot easier than getting it on
Yeah,
Walmart, you know?
absolutely.
So I'm curious if that's something you guys would be able to help with.
Only from the 3P perspective. So we can help brands launch on Amazon and
Mhm.
Walmart, but we don't get them into physical retail. We're
Sure.
digital, so that's like a completely other side of the business. But and then same thing with Target. We won't get you into Target once you're in Target and you're looking for an advertiser who is familiar with the platform and knows how to do the strategies. That's where we come in. But specifically to Amazon and Walmart, we will launch the products. We have strategies in place to get them retail ready. And it's usually a timeline and a
Mhm.
roadmap. And generally, it varies based on the category, but you could expect, give or take, if you're a completely new to market brand, anywhere from like 18 to 24 months of investing and seeing growth over that period of time before you have steady sales, generally pretty good profitability, and you can kind of count on that income consistently.
And how do companies kind of get out of that rut of consistent sales?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of probably why a lot of people talk to
Yeah.
you is getting to a point where you're getting consistent numbers is
Yep.
admirable and good.
Yep.
But after that happens for a quarter, 2 quarters, 3 quarters, people start
Yep.
thinking, all right, maybe I should start pumping up the volume a little bit. What
Yep.
are some of these easy ways that brands can avoid that rut and focus on improving?
Yeah, that's I mean sales stagnation. That's why a lot of brands hire us. And it comes down to your advertising strategy. And at the end of the day, it's how well you build
Mhm.
audiences. So we have programs through the Amazon ecosystem where we're able to engage Amazon associates. Those are influencers to you know, drum up, build the audience, expose products to
Sure.
these influencers in the categories. We will advertise on search and social and drive them back to Amazon, and we do like post email sequences, package inserts. So there's lots of different ways to go about it, but fundamentally keeping it super high level, building audiences. Like when you get to a point, you need a good product that has good reviews. You don't need to be the cheapest. If you're selling something that is just a higher price point, a premium product, important to show those features and important to get those reviews and positive feedback early on. And like those are the pieces that help. So like putting mechanisms in place to capture reviews and get video content and work with people in your market that's going to give greater exposure is the strategy. And like that's how we build those audiences.
Mhm.
And it takes time. That's why I said like when we talk with a brand, I like to manage your expectations. If things go really well within 8 months, you'll be in a good position. You'll see positive growth and you'll be happy. And that's a good case scenario. But typically, like 18 months is more realistic, up to
Mhm.
24 months, because it's slow, and it depends
Sure.
um, how competitive your category is. If you're selling an anti-aging cream or a dog treat or something like that, that's a really competitive market. So you need to have a really unique story or take,
Mhm.
or unique selling proposition, and it's our job to kind of help you get it out there, to help validate the product, and then help you build that audience. And sometimes it's not a good product market fit. We've helped
Mhm.
brands launch that were too high price point, or too specific, or like the niche just wasn't large enough to support the type of business, and that happens too.
Are there certain types of advantages between to selling on Walmart that a brand might not have when selling on Amazon? And I feel like that might be where the Amazon supports like that
Yep.
niche business where you can find a little bit of everything. But
Yep.
I'm curious about the other way around, if Walmart has any sort of advantage there.
There's just certain products that fit better in the Walmart market. We had opportunity to work with some of them. Generally, Amazon's going to be better for the digital, because the experience
Mhm.
is buy online, pick up in store. But on Walmart, if you could be competitively priced and have volume, and like that's kind of a good product market fit for Walmart. So if you're selling widgets at competitive price, then Walmart's going to be a good market for you. And if you're able to generate a lot of online sales, it will lead to reps reaching out and other opportunities. Similar to Amazon, Walmart has their own events. They do reach out to brands, and you're able to get exclusive deals and promotions and be featured online. And this has been for third party. But Amazon's more aggressive, it's more robust, better customer service.
Yeah.
So Walmart still has a way to go. And like I mentioned earlier, you're jumping into this system like 15 years less developed than like Amazon. So a lot more manual. Customer service is a nightmare. We're lucky we're an agency, so we do have some additional support. But if you work directly with the brand and you're not spending a lot of money, it could take a while to resolve issues.
Mhm. And you mentioned that customer support piece. I mean, anytime I'd ever needed to ask a question, I still phone call stores all the time. Like that, my
Mhm.
go-to if I ever need anything taken care of is phone call. And that is difficult in a tech age where it's like fill out this contact form. We don't have a
Yep.
phone number. I it kind of blows my mind a little bit that a lot of companies, I mean, companies as big as like Instagram, I remember having a problem with last year, just do not have a phone number. It's like
Yeah.
reach out to us
Yeah.
and we'll get to you whenever we feel like it. And I
Pretty
think that's
much.
kind of bizarre. And that is
Yep.
something that Amazon has been
Yep.
at the
And
forefront
even
in is customer support in digital space. Yeah, please.
Absolutely. And even on the seller side, so like a lot of sellers talk crap. And don't get me wrong, Amazon's got the antitrust thing, and we don't need to go
Sure.
into that. They're having their own issues, but their customer support is pretty. The fact you could call somebody, I can create a case and get like we had our one of our brands had issues, this weekend through Christmas, and the team was able to get somebody on support each of those days to check on the progress of something. You don't get that at Walmart. Geez, you don't get that
No.
at most businesses.
No. And I think that's kind of a great way to wrap up the conversation is the overarching past, present, future differences between these two companies. You mentioned that in what, 15 years time, Amazon is kind of eaten Walmart's lunch when it comes to market share.
Mhm.
Is Walmart still considered decently competitive, or is it like they are so far behind, at least on a digital space, that they're revenue and brick and mortar can't really make up for it?
Yeah, no, I think Walmart is still a beast, and it's definitely not going anywhere. I see it picking up more market share. I also see from a consumer trend perspective, more consumers comfortable when shopping online. If you look at like the
Mhm.
Q4 data that just passed, we saw like a 2.5 increase in retail sales for Black Friday, Cyber Monday that week, where it was like 12.5% for e-commerce. My wife and I, we went out and did some Christmas shopping around that time, and there's it wasn't chaos. Gone are the days where you're beating down old
I
ladies are
know,
beating down
dude.
children for the greater toys because they're just getting it on Amazon. They're going online and buying it. So
Yeah.
like the trend's changing. So like I see Walmart picking it up, but I do see the market getting bigger. I would love to know how some of this antitrust legislation shakes out because it may disrupt FBA. It may disrupt how Amazon's able to list their own products. It may disrupt the access to the data that Amazon's allowed to use. Like there's all this stuff that's going on. But what's not changing is like how our kids shop online and how they engage these retailers is changing. And how we shop is not going to be how our children shop. And that's what makes this space so exciting. And any
Mhm.
brands that are in it, it's a huge opportunity, and it's just going to continue to grow. So when I talk about Bellavix and I talk about Amazon, I still think it's a blue ocean, and we're just going to see this continue to grow. And with any luck,
Mhm.
take me off into retirement, where I can write a book and live comfortably on a beach somewhere far away.
That sounds really nice, and drink some Mai Tais and pina coladas or
Amen to
something.
that, Alex. That's what I'm talking about.
So I'm curious. You mentioned, future generations and the like. I've mentioned my association with Walmart, and just to add to that, Black Friday. I remember a couple times in high school, we would go out just to watch people, just because it was like a fun thing to do. Honestly, we'd go to Waffle House at like 11 p.m. and
Yeah.
then go to Walmart at like midnight, and then go to a GameStop or a Best Buy at like 1. I mean, it was just kind of like a fun thing to
Oh
do.
yeah.
Again,
Yeah.
so
Same
that
here. We
that
used
was
to cruise the streets of Long Island, man. I know.
yeah. And I think that is like my relationship to brands is a little bit more tactile and tangible. And I can like remember specific things that happened there or how I
Yeah.
felt there. And I'm curious if you have any sort of insight on how people's relationships to brands have changed in a digital era. I don't like I remember when I watched my first YouTube video, but I don't know if I have like a relationship to a brand like YouTube or Google the way I do with Waffle House and Walmart, just to pull out those two examples. Can you enlighten me a little bit on maybe how that relationship has changed in a digital world?
Yeah, I'll be kind of subjective, but I like to like anything they're doing in China now, they're gonna be doing here in 10 years. And I think that we're just gonna
Okay.
see the blend. Like to your point, I don't think at the end of the day, like we're experiential creatures. Like people are
Yeah.
not gonna not socially gather, and shopping is an experience that is cross-cultural. Like people shop all over the world. It's different, but we've been doing it forever. So I think what that means is and what we're seeing overseas, I think will blend over is like the brand experience in the store. So maybe we'll see more of these J.C. Penney's, Macy's kind of die away and see more like
Yeah.
Lululemons and these specific brand experiences or pop-up shops that tend to be pretty popular, and maybe that blending in. And especially now with the return policies and like try before you buy, they just released a fit an AR technology to get your perfect fit for online clothes. So like they're already trying to solve a lot of the problems or a lot of reasons why people would want to go to the store to buy a product to give that peace of mind. But I do think that at the end of the day, it's going to be the brand's job to get to create that experience that those consumers can identify with. And I think that's the transition we'll see. And I think Alex, you and I will be those old farts who are like, I remember when we would go to the mall and I would try on 100
Oh,
dungarees. Now I
totally.
get scanned by a machine and feel violated. But hey, it's the sacrifice we give for technology.
Absolutely, man. I think there is something to like I don't know, to me and a lot of friends of mine, especially ones that are girls, Bed Bath and Beyond closing its doors on a
Yeah.
brick and mortar is just like literally the end of an era.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is like fundamental. So
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what the future holds for us. I'm interested to see the future of Bellavix. The very last question I got for you, Will, is essentially about free time and mental health in the
Oh,
e-commerce space. So it can be incredibly stress inducing compared to other careers. I'd be interested to know your insight coming from an electrician to this space and if it is more pressurized. But I find it increasingly important that CEOs and entrepreneurs and founders have some sort of hobbies and interests to
Yeah.
practice to ensure a healthy work-life harmony and balance because
Yeah.
this industry can tear you apart. Do you have any of those
Yeah.
sort of hobbies and interests that you practice for your mental hygiene?
Oh, hell yeah, man. And I'm glad you actually brought that up. Advertising, specifically the agency space, I guess is like one of the highest suicide rates for a profession. My coach told me that,
Mhm.
and I thought that was pretty interesting. And one of our earlier talks, I was going through like an early brand. It was really stressful. It was when Yvonne and I still ran the business. And like, I guess he saw it, not that there were any tendencies, but he brought it up as a way to be like, hey, you can't take this personally. People get burnt out, and this is just
Mhm.
how that business works. Because when it's yours, you take a lot of pride. You want to do a good job, and you can't always please everybody. You kind of learn that after you get some reps in. So I adhere to stoicism. I'm like a big Riot Holiday fan. So I read a lot of his books and I listen to a lot of his videos. I make sure I use my calendar really effectively to
Oh yeah.
schedule time off in the workday so I can make sure I stand up and stretch out. And at this point, I won't work hours that are crazy anymore. I try to keep it within a 9 to 5 boundaries to the best of our ability. Still a business owner, but I do try to create those boundaries. I also, I have a work phone, so like I'm not checking work when I'm checked out. I can enjoy my time with my
That's
kids
smart.
and my family. But it took an evolution to get here, and I just want to let everybody know it is important. I'm really glad you brought this up. Take that time off, schedule it if you can, put it on a calendar.
Mhm.
Just make sure you're not working 7 days a week, 60 plus hours, because you will burn, you'll sink the ship, and you may hurt yourself or someone else. So it is really important.
Good advice, Will. Thanks for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure talking with you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Alex.